Hello, folks. It's almost 3 p.m. here. I'm calling from Belgrade, one of my favorite cafes around. We're literally like sitting among the trees, basically, in the park. Huge fan. Yeah, and I just kind of wanted to make a video about like using IFS for narcissism. For kind of figuring out how to just like hold parts of ourselves that may have like over inflated sense of importance or value, and that may kind of help in creating this dynamic inside of us that goes like, goes very, very high and then goes very low, and then goes very high and then goes very low, like a roller coaster. That can be quite uncomfortable. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I really believe that IFS provides a good tool, a good way to conceptualize, to understand what's going on in the inside, to understand the mechanism that will then help us, just like in the moment when we're overwhelmed by it, to just kind of understand what's going on and better handle ourselves, give us more space between us and the thing. So when I talk about narcissism, people usually kind of, like, narcissism is a very popular topic these days. It's very much about, like, there's a lot of articles around psychology, like videos on YouTube, research about kind of how narcissism is how to recognize a narcissist and how to avoid like narcissistic manipulation, or how to recognize and heal from or set boundaries with narcissistic abuse. And these are really, really important, and these definitely are very helpful and come into play when you're dealing with a narcissist. And they're very helpful in kind of recognizing the abuse and recognizing, because a lot of narcissistic behavior is like also manipulation, and they're very skilled at kind of knowing what's happening and then just manipulating you into their own egocentric needs, right? But what this video is about is not so much about that. It's more about, like, if you have experienced like this roller coaster of like a big sense of self-importance or ability or quality or characteristic, and the subsequentness, unavoidable kind of downfall into I'm the worst, I'm not good at like enough, I'm bad, like this and that, like painful things, then and if you want to kind of understand better as an inner experience and how to kind of just like be with it and sit with it, then this is the video for you. So specifically I'm going to be talking about kind of like the parentified child type of situation, where let's say we have a family where there's been kind of neglect, abuse, growing up, family was chaos, right? And so the child is kind of requested, more or less explicitly, to take care of the adults around them, take care of parents, take care of caregivers. And that produces in the child this whole thing of like, I need to care, I need to do something for my parents, so of course I'll do it, because if I because children are wired that way. Like if I will do anything to stay in connection with my parent. If my parent has a secure attachment, super hvala. Super narcissistic.
Yes.
If a parent was like a secure attachment, then the parent will kind of be in charge of keeping a secure connection and keeping the connection going, and will not kind of expect from the child to have those advanced emotional abilities to stay connected, and will model a safe connection for the child. If that's not the case, which is seriously, honestly, the case with like a lot of people, especially where I come from, is essentially, and not only like our generation, right? It's also ancestral. It's our parents' parents and their parents and their parents, right? So it's like definitely ancestral, transgenerational thing that's going on. So we also need to look at that level and kind of pay attention to having having collective solutions for collective problems, not having individual solutions for collective problems, right? More about that on ancestralmedicine.org, but kind of above my pay grade. But what I do want to talk to you about is about the internal, the personal parts when it comes to kind of growing up in an emotionally neglectful or abusive home. It's really about, people have different kinds of parts. So people have the parentified part, which will be like, okay, I'll take care now. So I will use my inner resources to rise above my capabilities, and I will become more capable, loving, great, amazing human being, and provide for the emotional needs of my parent. And this will be created as a part to essentially mask a deeper feeling of shame, or a deeper feeling of vulnerability, or deeper carefree kid parts, right? Like I'm a kid. I want to play. I want to do what I want, right? So like also parts that want things or desired things are kind of all taken and kind of like, in this environment and housed, they're stuffed and shunned back into somewhere in a dark, safe place in our system. And kind of like their protector, their guardian, so kind of like the bodyguard that stands, like in front of them and is like, no one shall pass. That part is like the parentified child, right? It's like I'm capable. I can do it. I can care. So the caring part, the part that has enormous abilities, and so on and so forth. And so that part, the protector, is actually the narcissist, right? Like that participates in the narcissistic mechanism within the human being. Why? Because we will, as a parentified child, we will, first of all, these parts, like the main problem with them is not you having them, is really them thinking that you're still like 4 years old, right? So it's like they still think when something happens in your life that reminds them of the situation, something, with your closest relationships, with your partner, whatever, that reminds them that, okay, we're back again in the house, we have to take care. If we don't, we will be overwhelmed by shame, we'll be overwhelmed by guilt, we will be punished by emotional manipulation and emotional punishment of, being made feel guilty, they will just come on. They will come on, they will activate, and they will take over the whole system. Because in their mind, literally for their story, they're thinking that they are standing between a very bad thing, the 4-year-old, and a very bad thing, right? So they're protecting a 4-year-old, right? So we need to kind of, like, I have a lot of, like, the work that I do is very much informed by compassion, and the work that I do with myself is also very much informed by compassion. It's that I'm not here to, shame someone for having narcissistic parts, or shame someone for having parentified, super adult children parts, or to shame myself for having them, right? I'm here to say, I get it. Like, absolutely you did that. Thank you so much for doing that. You're amazing. Like, I'm feeling so tender for what you had to go through and how you handled it. At 4 years old, at 6 years old, at 10 years old, at 14 years old. Seriously. And can I offer that you look where we're now? Like, we're adults now. We're no longer young. Our life looks very different. We're independent. We don't depend on anyone for our survival. And just how is that for you to hear? Right? How is it to see that? And then you just wait and listen. And that's the key part, like waiting, listening, patience, sitting with things. That is the thing that heals, actually. The thing that heals is staying with those parts of us that were traumatized, and having them experience, teaching them by experiencing what does it mean, what does it feel to relate in a safe way. And in many ways, patience and being in silence and listening and sitting with things and kind of not like reacting right away or wanting to change things or looking at how can we change this, how can we transform this. In many ways, it's that sitting energy that is much needed in the world right now. Because in the world right now, we have a lot of active, if you want to say masculine energy, manifested in the world. If you don't want to say that, that's not your jam. That's totally cool with me. And we don't have enough of that kind of rest, pause, receive, take in energy that is, super essential to life. Like, literally. Like, we have there has to be a balance, right? There has to be an equal balance of those things, and when that balance is restored, then we'll have a much better time here on Earth. Until then, tune in for more of Phil's insights. Thank you so much. Bye for now.